Yo, Ethan here from Pervcast. You know who it is. Want to touch base real quick, let you know we've been a little less active here lately because we've been remodeling a house, remodeling a studio. Studio's in pretty good shape here. I'm excited how it's coming along. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be better for people that want to come in and do a podcast with me and people that just come and participate in the podcast. It's going to be better for that too. So I'm super excited on all of it. It's going to be a good time. Don't want to dwell on that. Wanted to give you a couple of perspectives that I've gathered just over the last week or so from listening to the news and stuff, which I try not. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, and that's actually probably why I'm not as good at podcasting and videos as I could be, is because I don't pay a lot of attention to the news. A little bit of attention to sports, do that, that's cool, but I don't like to trip balls about stuff that is just completely out of my control, and try to focus on the stuff that's in my control. But there's a couple things, all right? First is world politics. I definitely have a bit of opinion on this, and this is pretty kind of generic, bipartisan. It's not super specific, but I do have this, I do have this particular opinion and thought that I think that in order to run for president, it doesn't matter how much of a good dude you are. I think you've got to think that you're hot shit. I think that you've got to be arrogant and think that you're awesome. If you truly believe that you are the most well-suited person to prop up the entire world, the entire free world, and be that guy, then you think you think you're it, And I know people that think they're it, and they're for whatever reason, they feel like they've got to be in that position because I am the best. I'm qualified because I'm cool. That's the way that they feel or whatever, I think that to go for president and spend your entire life dedicating it to I'm going to be president, you have to have a bit of a narcissistic personality and, it's undeniable. You have to be. Here's the thing. I think that every president that has ever existed, United States president, is jealous of one man. I think they all want to be this guy. Believe it or not, this guy just so happens to be from the state I am broadcasting from, Missouri. I think everybody is jealous of Harry S. Truman. He delivered the most power in one particular airdrop, in one particular moment. More power than anyone in the history of the world. And I think that every president that has come along since has looked at Harry S. Truman and gone, that guy set a bar that I wouldn't mind reaching. Even if they're not hungry for that bar, even if they're not looking, actively going and trying to find a reason to push the same button that Truman got to push, which back then, that was just a command, but whatever. I think that they're all waiting for their opportunity. They're that is the largest demonstration of power in the world ever. And obviously, capabilities are there. And I truly think that MAD, mutually assured destruction, which was a thing in the Cold War, I think that's a big thing that probably has stopped a bunch of these dingus presidents from, going, I want to show everybody how bad and hard I am. I'm such a badass. I want to do it. I think that their just egomaniatism and thinking they're just all that, they feel like they should be able to have that control because they're that smart. They're that intelligent. They're so good. That's the thing. I think that everybody is chasing Harry Truman. If in no other category, they're all chasing him to have the opportunity to go drop that bomb, which these bombs nowadays are 75 times stronger than the bomb that Truman dropped, or commanded to be dropped. So I think that's absolutely true. I think that there is some warmongering for a couple reasons, military industrial complex, I think it's viewed as maybe the best way to fire the economy back up. Or it's not even that. It's actually, I think that it's viewed as the best way to ensure absolutely positive returns on investments for people that know about what's coming up. And that's not, Grant and I are going to talk about this more tomorrow. It's 100% that. They absolutely think that that's the best way to guarantee ROI is you go to war, you got to make weapons. You got to invest money in war things. Second thing is, I think presidents are like, I want the opportunity. I want to be put in the position to push that button. I don't think I'm wrong. I think anybody that is narcissistic enough to think that they should lead the free world also it feels haughty enough to go, I kind of want to push that button. That's the first thing. The other thing is, and I'm sorry if this isn't, I know it's not funny, it's just like kind of had some thoughts the past couple days, and I was like, man, what do I want to throw out there? My thoughts, I guess. So the other thing is, hard left turn here. Michigan football. Okay. So I don't know if anybody's heard, but Michigan is in this big investigation, John Harbaugh and everything for the stealing signals, right? So like I don't know if he spent some time working with the Houston Astros or what, but no, evidently there's this guy that kind of has like a bad rap within college football and would just he would go to all these games. He went to like something like 96% of all of Michigan's games, period, on the road or at home, period. He went to all of them and would, I think it's Big Ten opponents, but he would like record, I guess with the phone. I don't know. Surely they wouldn't let you get a camera in. Maybe if it's cameras as small as these, I don't know, but he'd get somehow record the games, but the games were recorded on the opposition sideline grabbing the signals. So Michigan's in this massive deal in big trouble for stealing signals from the other teams. Well, I don't really care. To be honest with you, I'm kind of a closet Michigan fan. I've always liked Michigan. I think it's because the Wolverine has been like my favorite animal because growing up, my dad always told me like stories and read me stories about how like the Wolverine is so ferocious and mean that it will actually like kill a grizzly bear. It is, I don't know, it's 5%, 10% the size of a grizzly bear, but it can actually, like, it's so ferocious and intelligent that it can actually, like, get the bear down and kill it because it knows how to fight the bear. And so, when I was a kid back then, like, I thought that was so cool. That's awesome. And so forever, I've liked Wolverines, and then Michigan's just so happens to be the Wolverines. And they got as a kid, like, blue helmets. I loved blue. And then they had the 3 cool yellow stripes, which is just so cool. So I don't truly care, but I will say this. I think this is the difference between college football and the NFL, okay? And I think this is why college football is kind of waning for all the people that ever would want to listen to me means that getting worse or coming down, not necessarily crashing, but slowly moving down. Like the moon wanes when it's getting, not as bright, whatever. This is why college football, I think, is going there. And as much as like Roger Goodell, I think he's a total like kind of weird tool bag. I do believe that like he has had a pretty like no nonsense policy on football or on the NFL. And he's had, like the stuff with the Patriots. I didn't always, agree with that. Like the Deflategate, I'm like, good night, dude. It's freezing cold. Let somebody take a little bit of air out of the ball. Like, I get it, dude. I got these hands. When I played quarterback, I had to take a lot of air out of the ball. Thank God Roger Goodell wasn't the commissioner of homeschool football in Southwest Missouri. I would have been absolutely hosed. So that I don't care about. But I do think that there's probably been a long line of decisions that he's made that have been like concrete, final, this is it, that's it, line in the sand, this doesn't get crossed, or the consequences type of thing. But because the NCAA doesn't have one governing body, it's conferences that are just constantly looking out for the best of the best, then, everybody pretty well just does what they want. And then honestly, like the conference heads, they don't want to penalize their schools because that might mean that a team like Michigan, if they're penalized on a postseason or something, might not get to go to the playoff. being a team that's been there before. Now, I think that if this is Rutgers or something like that, if this is, I don't know, any team in the Big Ten outside of Michigan or Ohio State, I would say that the penalties are like stern. They're coming down hard. There's a hard line in the sand. But because Michigan and Ohio State moving on makes the the Big Ten so much money, they can't afford to. No, well, they can afford to, but whenever you're essentially just a CEO and working for shareholders, why would you? There is no governing body. If college football ran more like NFL, more regulations on player movement, I am all for NIL. I absolutely believe. I don't care if you're 3 and your name, image, and likeness is something that people recognize and appreciate and you want to make money off of. I 100% agree. That is something that you should be able to do. That is, I think, your God-given right to be able to use the gifts and abilities and things that you have to make your income. However, I do think that like player movement, a little bit of, now that I think about it, I am the ultimate freedom guy. Player movement, I'm good with it. Absolutely. Should be able to go where you want to. But I think that on rules and violations and things, there needs to be a bit more of a cut and dried line where teams know, and they're not just reporting to the guy that is responsible or interested in what this team can make them. I think that the NFL's consistency is what has made it grow and blow up. Because when I was a kid, not even a kid, early 20s, college football was my jam. I loved it. I would have rather watched that than NFL. But I have felt like college football has kind of settled down into a lower place, and NFL has kind of continued to climb up a mountain with some setbacks, with some pretty dumb decisions that they've made. But for the most part, they've maintained consistency, and people know what to expect. And when there's something that is outside of the previously set parameters that helps a team to achieve a higher level of success, if it crosses the line of the previous set boundaries, then they're knocked down or they're penalized in some way. And I think that consistency is the difference between the NFL and college football. And it's the lack of one specific governing body that controls everybody that makes this a problem. And I think that drives college football downhill, which is sad because I love it. And then back to the player movement thing. Here's what I think. There is no interest when you have no knowledge, I think is the big thing. When you have no knowledge of a team or a franchise, you're not going to care, right? Here's what it feels like. I'm a Missouri Tiger fan, right? And I love Missouri Tigers because I'm from Missouri. I have family that went to Missouri. I'm not, I'm 2.5 hours away from the university. That to me, that's my team. That makes sense, right? But here's the thing. At this point in basketball and football, like I truly feel like proximity is the thing that ties me to that fandom. Whereas years ago, I remember that I could go through and I could list off almost the entire roster of Missouri Tigers on the football team and the basketball team to you because they were there for usually 5 years. Hit a redshirt freshman, there for 4 years, and you knew them. You got to like build a knowledge of who they were, which was big. Now you don't. Like the other day, Mizzou played Georgia on Saturday. Lost, played a pretty good game, I thought. But the thing is, they called a name of one of the Georgia wide receivers. And, I thought, well, that kind of rings a bell. And then they go, and this kid played for Mizzou last year. Yeah, he moved, or he transferred to Georgia, And this guy, like, you never know when you have a time that you could get to know this kid. It's just, it kind of stinks because back in the day, I could tell you every offensive and defensive player for the Tigers. And now it feels like it just turns over so much that you want to have that attachment, that heart attachment where you feel, where the kid's from, what year he is, like why he chose your team, all this different stuff. And then you also know that you're riding with them for the next 4, maybe 5 years. And that's cool. That's awesome. I think that's a big thing. I think that's why the NFL is growing, is because people know, like, I can build my allegiance to not just the organization or this big massive corporation, but I can build my allegiance to people, to guys. So I I think that's why I dig NFL more than I used to. So those two things, like, college football's got to find consistency. This is insane. They said that they're considering punishment, considering something for Michigan because of what they've done. I have to say, whether or not you like the NFL's decisions, they would, in this instance, everybody knows something's coming down the pipeline. They're doing something. They're absolutely doing something. We're probably going to be without our starting quarterback for 4 games or whatever. We probably are going to miss our chance at the playoffs for the next 2 years. We're probably going to lose this many recruits. Whatever it is, to know there's something to provide that consistency, I think people would appreciate. And then also, just like, I want to know who's on that team. That's the fun of it, Like, love the Chiefs, man. I know their roster. It's sweet. You kind of feel a connection to those people. When you don't, hello ESPN, when you don't know, don't really care, And then there was another story that I started looking into, and I was going to bring that up, but I don't think that I will, because I think there might be more to it than I know, and I do not want, I don't want to be the guy that says that ridiculous, insane thing. I don't want to be Alex Jones before I ever have anything to lose, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Which Alex Jones is, pretty entertaining. I got to say that. But I want to throw something out to you guys. Holler at me if there's topics or ideas, discussions that you want to hear about, or, if you give a, rat's ass about my opinion, Grant's opinion on anything, my wife's opinion, holler at me. We'll throw something out. I'm also super excited because my mom is actually going to start doing a video podcast, which I think is so cool that, in her 70s, that she is like, she's really excited and gung-ho, and nothing makes me happier than to know that my mom is, like, stoked about the idea. So, she told me she was proud of me for what we got going on here. She thought it was cool, and that's all I need. I think that's so cool. Guys, look for the new episode a couple days later this week. Check out Pervcast on all the socials. Check out No BS with Joy and Brittany on all the socials. Check out Rosamond Rowe Photography on all the socials. Check out Boudoir or Confidently You Boudoir by Ashley. That's kind of the stuff that we have going on. We appreciate all the support and the love, and we're trying to do what we love, and hopefully that it is something that other people love as well. So that's kind of where we're at. But guys, peace.